Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's a very widespread propaganda among non Islamic societies that the course of punishment in Islam is very cruel, very barbaric, very extreme, and so on and so on. And the more unfortunate thing on top of this is that these misconception is not only limited to non-Muslims alone, it also exists among Muslims themselves too, to some of the Muslims, especially younger generation. So in today's video, we take a glimpse of the Islamic jurisdiction samples along with some samples from the non-Islamic jurisdiction system, some cases, some samples, and we put them into comparison, and then it will be up to you to conclude which one is cruel, which one is barbaric, if one of them indeed are. I'm not a scholar, and this is not an academic discussion. What we do, we just touch the surface of the issue, the surface of the samples, that how it seems from their outer view. Islam get its course of punishment from Quran, and Quran is a book which is revealed from heaven. So we can easily say that the course of punishment in Islam is a heavenly code. Yet the courts of punishment in non-Islamic jurisdiction system, they are made out of the introduction of the new legislation, new amendments, new laws from the Justice Department or from the other authorities outside of the Justice Department. Even though from the very beginning it should be very obvious which one is better, but because some of our audience may not believe in heaven, may not believe in what things which come from the heaven, so that's why we continue this discussion. Talking about Justice Department, we Muslims, from our perspective, we say that it's a wrong name, it's a wrong entity, Justice Department. It's a wrong name. Why it's wrong name? Because we Muslims, we believe that men are not able to do justice. Well, for a particular case, it's a different discussion, but as a whole, like a whole society, doing justice for the whole society, it's not right. Because justice, that department serves the whole society, the whole nation. So that's why we say it's wrong to give that implication that human beings are able to do justice. We give an example why it's wrong. Suppose there's a crime, a particular crime happens by 10 different people in 10 different places, under same circumstances, under same severity. Of these 10 crimes, 8 are reported and 10 goes unreported and will stay unreported forever. And it's a fact that not all crimes are reported, especially domestic violences. So, of the 8 which are reported, 6 are caught by the authority and 2 is on the run. They're living a fugitive life. They're always on the run. and the probability for them to get caught by the authority are 50-50. And the six which are caught by the authority, two pleads guilty, they get their conviction in the in their sentence, and they are serving their time in prison. Another two pleads not guilty. There are no evidence against them. There are no DNA. There are no eyewitnesses. There are no motives. There are no scene of crime. So the case against them are very, very weak. So the chance for them to get away with the crime is 100%. So we take this two out too. The remaining last two, they plead also not guilty, but because the cases against them are very, very strong, very overwhelming, so there's no the chance for them to get away with the crime or not to get a conviction is zero. So you see, 10 crimes happened by 10 different people in the same society. So far, only two goes to prison. Only two. If we add up the probabilities that we just mentioned before, maybe another two will join them, which will make them four. But the remaining six, as we give them the categories, describe the category of the cases, they get away with the crime. And this is not only true for one particular crime, it can be true for any kind of crime. Not true only in one society, it can be right, it can be true for the whole society, for all other societies as well. And my question is this justice? This is not justice. This is partial justice. Partial justice needs justice of its own. Partial justice is more dangerous than no justice at all. Why? Because no justice is never enforced by authority. But the partial justice is always enforced by authority, by gun, by the force. So that's why naming a department Justice Department is wrong. That's why Muslims, they never had a department called Justice Department, at least not at the beginning. Nowadays, of course, everything is a copycat everywhere of this Western world. But at the beginning, we never had an Islamic, what do you call, Justice Department. It's not that Muslims never had an issue against each other. We never had problems. We did have. We are human. Of course, like anyone else, like any other follower of the other religion. But what we did have, we had a department which called Qada, Department of Qada, which was very, very delicate, which was very, very sensitive position. It was ranked second to the Hakim of that place. That much powerful this position was. And the person who was heading that department was called Qazi al-Qudat. And those fashion was wiped out from the Islamic governments long time ago. Now what we see is the nine people panels like we see in Justice Department everywhere in the world. So there's another difference, a very big difference. You see how Islamic jurisdiction law is complete, that even naming a department is also has to be right, which Islam follows it. Non-Islamic world, they haven't realized yet. So, as the discussion is not even started yet, there's one big strike against them, as if the other party they came with the wrong horse into the race. I Why Muslims believe that justice cannot be served by human? Because human has limited capabilities, limited power. If you look at your left, you cannot look at your right. If you look at your front, you cannot look at your back. If you hear something from left, you cannot hear things from the right. It's limited view, visual view, limited. Everything is limited. So how human being can claim that we can do justice? I remember it was the time of so-called Gulf War, 1992, 93, that the army of the United States, they made an expedition against the what you call Iraqi government, and they put out an operation. They named it Infinite Justice. And the Muslim scholars they right away object to that name. They say that how could you claim that you do infinite justice? Only Allah can do infinite justice because He knows everything, He sees everything, and He has power over everything. It's only Him who can do justice, infinite justice. And of course, the operation was named something else right away. So coming back to our discussion, a woman came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is where Rasulullah was sitting in the masjid amongst his companion. And this woman came to him and she yelled at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "O Prophet of Allah, I've committed adultery." And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by hearing this, right away turned his Mubarak face away. And that woman again goes, "O Prophet of Allah, please purify me." I've committed adultery. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam again turned his Mubarak face away, as if he never heard her. You see, a defendant voluntarily comes into the court of law in the Islamic world. He comes to the supreme judge of Islam, which is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he admits to his or her guilt. And yet, that supreme judge of Islam turns his face away. Now you tell me, have you have any similar cases like this, any similar event like this in the whole time of humanity? That the defendant comes to the judge and the judge turns his face away. When Rasulullah turns his face away, what it means? It means that the whole Islam turns its face away from that confession, from that sinner. Even though adultery is not a crime in an Islamic society, but we will come to similar cases later on. And for the third time, that woman claims again that, oh, dear Prophet of Allah, I've committed adultery. Please purify me. And only then Rasulullah turned his face towards the woman and yelled at her, "You damn woman! You damn woman! Why don't you hide behind your garment? Why don't you hide behind your chadar?" Islamic jurisdiction is not like a factory place that you put something on this side of the conveyor and then you get something out of that conveyor. Islam jurisdictional law is so broad, so deeply calculated. What is put in the center is the heart. Imagine if this thing happens in the court of law in non-Islamic world, what would happen? If a woman or a man goes to the court of law and openly, voluntarily admits to his guilt or her guilt in front of the judge, what would happen? We know what will happen. People who lived in the Western world, they know what would happen. There will be a very joyful celebration. We got a case, we got a case, we got a case. As, as if the nut and bolts of the jurisdiction court system gets lubricated, comes into spinning. We got a case, we got a case. And the benefit goes from the judge who's sitting on the bench. It goes down all the way to the clerk and to the guards who are guarding the court. We got a case, we got a case. But Islam is different. Islam is not to enjoy their authority. Islam is not to show their authority. Islam's role is much deeper. Sometimes it just turns itself away from the confession. There was a very famous saying in the America that the least of the government is the best of the government, or the best of the government is the least of the government. But Islam even goes to extreme. Maybe the best of the government is no government at all. So when Rasulullah heard the confession for the third time, then he appointed a panel to investigate the matter further and to decide about her faith. What happened later, what happened after this, does not uh, concern our discussion here because we already got the juice out of it. What we wanted, we already got it. And this is not only one instance, it happened more at the time of Rasulullah. It happened even after the time of Rasulullah because at those times, people, Iman, people faith were very high. People's belief in Islam or in Islam was so much high that they could not carry the burden of guilt in the heart and the chest. So they're always openly admitting it to it. Another time, a young man came to Rasulullah when Rasulullah was sitting amongst his companions in the masjid, and he came to him, وسلم, and he said, "O Prophet of Allah, you know what happened to that lady of such and such valley? I'm the one who made that crime. I'm the one who slept with her." And Rasulullah said, angrily, "Hey man, watch out for what you're saying. Watch out for what you're saying." This is exactly how it's reported in the books of history. Watch out for what you're saying. When the man says again, "Ya Rasulullah, please pray for me. I committed that sin." And Rasulullah says to him, "Maybe you just hugged her." And the man says, "O Prophet of Allah, no. I've gone further." And Rasulullah says, "Maybe you just kissed her." You see, the defendant comes to the court of law in Islam, and yet the judge of Islam puts something in his mouth. We put a word of defense in his mouth. This is contradict the whole fabric of the judicial system in non-Islamic world. Because this is not the job of the judge to do this. If he does it or she does it, she or he will automatically, right away, will lose that bench, will lose that job. So you see, the system is not built up for this kind of dialogue which happened at the time of Rasulullah. But since Islam is not only government, Islam is not only what the court is. Islam deals with the whole, bigger thing than that of a court. Islam deals with heart. And oh my God, what a delicate thing is this heart. So the man 3 times admits to his guilt. And yet Rasulullah trying to shut him up or trying to divert his story. And when the men persisted, then in this case, Rasulullah also appointed a panel to investigate the matter. And then, of course, Rasulullah did the hukum on him, or what you call applied code on him, because he 3 times he openly admitted to his guilt. And as I said, these are cases of this type, this origin, scattered around at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and at the time of his successors, who were the students of Rasulullah ﷺ. A man came to Hazrat Ali Karamallahu wajhu and said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you know the camel which was lost from such and such valley? Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen said, yes, I know. The man says, I'm the one who stole it. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, no, you're not. And the man says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, yes, I stole that camel. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says again, no, you did not. And when for the third time the man persisted on his guilt, on his admission, and then Amir al-Mu'mineen says, oh, okay, you were the one. Then he right away sent 3 people right in front of his presence. He sent 3 people, one to collect fire, another one to collect or bring oil, and the other one to bring a butcher. So these 3 men, they left masjid. And this young man, he came to realize that the punishment is imminent. So he right away changed his story and says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you were right. You were right. I was not the one who stole that camel. Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen says, you were not? Are you sure? The guy says, yes, I'm sure. I was not the one. I did not steal the camel. And Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen says, are you sure you did not steal that camel? And the man, for the third time, says, yes, yes, you're right. I was not. It was stolen by somebody else. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen sent them back home. And the people around him amazingly asked Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, what did you do? He admitted with his own mouth, with his own tongue, that he committed that crime, he stole that camel, and you send him back home? And what Amir al-Mu'mineen said in their response, I wish it would become a foundation stone for a jurisdictional law in today's world. A very famous response. He says that I held him for what he said, and I let him go for what he said. I held him for what he said, and I let him go for what he said. It's a very good mathematical equation, which can only come from haq. I held him for what he said, and I let him go for what he said. And it was right. Made 100% sense. It's not like in non-Islamic jurisdiction system that it's a very, what you call, famous, becoming a very famous slogan that you have to remain silent. Anything you will say will be used against you in the court of law. Anything you say will be used against you in the court of law. But as that Ali says, Karamal Hoju, that I held him for what he said and I let him go for what he said. This comes into our discussion, which we refer to the what we call freedom of speech, or making a threat against somebody. So we bring this case, this story again and later on. And for today, we will say enough for our discussion. Thank you for listening, and we will looking forward to seeing you again in later videos. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.